Mr. Obama, this is not Kenya. This is not Indonesia. This is the United States of America. And what you are now seeing in front of you right here, and in rallies across the entire country, in every town, in every city, in every state, is a rising conservative army. And we want our country back, and we want it now. My friends, let me be very candid with you. I'm a practicing Roman Catholic. I'm going to be almost confessional with you right now. I am originally from Canada. I've said this on the air many times. I call myself a refugee from the Socialist Republic of Canada. And why did I come to this country? Is it because Canada's a bad place? In all honesty, it isn't. People are friendly. They play good hockey. The beer is very good. Yeah, the Penguins. We have Sidney Crosby. Wasn't bad. But the reason why I came was because as a young man, as a young boy, my grandparents instilled in me a love of freedom. They fled communist Eastern Europe. And as we were celebrating at the end of World War II, a great and stunning victory over Nazi Germany, the people of Eastern Europe, my ancestors, where my father and grandfather came from, were celebrating not victory, but mourning the coming Red Army. Like locusts in a red plague, they descended across Eastern Europe. And my grandparents, after having endured the horrors of the Holocaust, my grandfather spent 1.5 years in a concentration camp, and by the grace of God, he survived. And as he told me, 3 days after I was freed from that fascist camp, the communists came in and said, "You are a practicing Catholic. You are a small peasant landholder. You are an enemy of the state." And they rounded him and my grandmother up, and they put him into a makeshift camp. My father, who was then only 3 years old, to this day, when he has too many glasses of wine, will cry and say, "I still remember, can you believe it, as a young baby, that my grandfather put me over the barbed wire as they were putting together the makeshift camp, and some friend of my parents, my grandparents, took me in and hid me in a cellar so the communist authorities wouldn't kill me." And for 3 years, they endured torture and beatings and imprisonment. And everybody in my grandfather's family, every one of them, were massacred, except for my grandfather. And then he fled. In 1949, he left. He didn't walk, he ran. And the one place he wanted to come to was the land of freedom and opportunity, America. But America, at that time, wasn't taking in immigrants from Eastern Europe. Did he come here illegally? He was poor. He was desperate. He didn't. So Canada was taking immigrants. And he said, well, Canada's just north of America. It's as close as we can get. And there he went. For 4 decades, my grandparents labored in factories and in sweatshops. They worked hard. Their hands were rough from hard work. And in Canada, as many of you know, we have socialized medicine. What Obama wants to implement here on American soil. And this story, I say everywhere I go, because it is a warning to the American people. It is why I left Canada. You want to know why I left Canada? Here's why I left Canada. When my grandmother, who never lived off welfare a day in her life, worked 12, 14-hour days, literally broke her back, paying taxes through the nose, suffered a fatal heart attack. And we got that call, my father and I. Grandma is ill. We have to rush her to the hospital. So there we are in Canada, my father and I taking my grandmother to the hospital. My dad has tears coming down his cheeks. We bring her in and wheel her into the hospital. My grandmother is barely living, but we know if she is given attention then, she will be saved. And I rush up to a nurse and I say, "Ma'am, my grandmother has just been struck with a heart attack. Please, can you get a doctor? Can you get somebody to help her?" You know what they said to me? "Excuse me, Mr. Kuhner, we have a shortage of doctors and nurses on staff. There's a lot of sick people here. She's going to have to wait." For 3 days and 3 nights, she lay on a gurney, not even in a room, because all the rooms are overcrowded. She lay in a dirty, stinking hallway, and then she died. Now I ask all of you here now, is that justice? She was covered. Well, she was covered. Free health care. What Obama says he wants, a single-payer system in Canada. That's his dream. My friends, I have seen socialized medicine up front. I saw what it did to my grandmother, and I eventually saw what it did to my own mother who passed away of cancer. If we allow Obamacare to be implemented in this country, future generations will never forgive us. This is about our birthright as Americans. It is not the government that takes care of our health care. It's we that take care of our own health care. And I believe now that the president and all of his Chicago gangsters in the White House have made a fatal mistake. They have now overreached. They overplayed their hand. They thought opposition would evaporate, but to their utter astonishment, look at what we see in front of us. More and more Americans are now realizing what a dangerous socialist radical Barack Obama is. And come November, we have heard from him, but come November, he will hear from us. And we will sweep him and all of his gangsters back to Chicago. My friends, let me just conclude by saying this. I can't tell you, I was telling this to my wife on the way up. It gets discouraging when you're in Washington, D.C. I'm not going to lie to you. I call myself the last honest man on the radio. That's my shtick. And the Obama people come at me all the time, every day. And it gets discouraging. You think you're fighting an impossible battle. You think the liberals dominate the media. They dominate the bureaucracy. They dominate the popular culture. And now they dominate both houses of Congress and the presidency. But I am reinvigorated. I am renewed and re-energized, because when I told my wife, I am now coming with my people. And soon, we are in exile. We are a conservative force and a conservative army in exile. But soon, our day is coming. On July 4th, 1776, a great and a proud people rose up against British imperialism and colonial subjugation. And on that fateful day, we unleashed a revolution that shook the entire world to its very foundations. And here we did something that no other nation in the history of the world has been able to accomplish. We created a free republic of free men and free women, equal under God. And the choice that is now before us, this is now the obligations that fate and destiny has put upon our generation. And we now face the most fundamental existential question a people and a nation can face. Shall we be or not be, as Shakespeare said? Now, we are faced with a crossroads, with a choice. The next 2 to 3 years will define the destiny of America. Shall we become a European welfare socialist superstate? Or shall we once again return to becoming a self-governing constitutional republic based on limited government and freedom. My friends, our experiment in liberty made us the greatest superpower in the history of the world. It has made us the envy of the world. If we return to our constitutional roots, if we return to our founding roots, we will once again become a beacon to every nation in the world. May God bless you, and may God bless the greatest nation on earth, the United States of America. Thank you.